So now we were looking at to see what happens to the brain. Well, when we're in stress and that person's in trauma and they're trying to control everything in their life, they're shifting their attention from one person to another problem, to another thing, to another place, to another object. And every one of those elements has a neurological network in the brain. So the arousal of the stress hormones causes their brain to fire very incoherently. Now, when our brains are incoherent, we're incoherent. When our brains aren't working right, we're not working right. So the obsession of the stress hormones causes us to narrow our focus on whatever the cause is. So when we're in stress, we obsess, we loop, we overthink, we narrow our focus on something. So we thought, my goodness, there's some research out there that shows that if you teach people to broaden their focus, to begin to, instead of focusing on everything material and physical that's causing the stress, everything that's known, broaden their focus and put their attention on space, on nothing. And the act of doing that causes the brain to begin to synchronize, to begin to unify, to become more coherent. And what syncs in the brain links in the brain. So the person's brain starts functioning normally and starts to improve without any medications, without any therapies, just a simple act. And the more they do it, the more order that's created in their brain, the more they can focus their attention and move into a more creative state. What do I want? How successful do I want to be? How healthy do I want to be? How much love do I want in my life? You can ask the bigger questions. By the same means, when the person is gripped by those hormones of stress and they're not running from that predator, they're not fighting, and they're not freezing and hiding, but the chemicals are running, their heart is beating because it's in an aroused state, but it's beating against the closed system, and the heart starts beating incoherently. When that happens, energy leaves the heart, and we stop trusting, we stop believing in ourselves. So we teach people how to create brain and heart coherence. And what we've discovered just in the last couple years is that when this heart starts beating orderly, and it's a skill, just like anything else you do, like dancing the salsa, like when you understand all that information and now you're in the application of it, once you start to experience it and you get the feeling of what it feels like to be in this state, it turns out that when the heart is coherent, it starts informing the brain. You'll see it, the brain starting to change because the heart is telling the brain it's time to create. Now it's safe to create. It's the creative center. So the person all of a sudden can see a possibility that they never could see before, and they can embrace the emotion of the event, listen closely, before the experience happens. Now this is fundamentally important because most people are waiting for their wealth to feel abundant and worthy. They're waiting for their success to feel empowerment. They're waiting for their new relationship to feel love. They're waiting for their healing to feel gratitude. That's cause and effect. That's waiting for something outside to change, to take away this feeling of emptiness or lack or pain or guilt or whatever. We found out that when a person can actually embrace the emotion before the event, they can begin to condition their brain and body into a future experience, and the brain and body don't know the difference. So all of a sudden, the person who was traumatized and had their experience, now all of a sudden they're teaching their body emotionally how to live in a new environment, and the body doesn't know the difference between the real life experience and the one that they're fabricating. So in a sense, by creating brain and heart coherence, the stronger the emotion they feel for their new vision of the future, the more they're going to pay attention to the picture in their mind, and they're literally remembering their future. And now there's biological changes in gene expression, in neurological circuitry, in brain coherence, in immune regulation, in digestive balance, in microbiomes, and all the things we measure show the body's now out of survival. It's time for growth and repair. So the side effect of that is we see people with those serious health conditions that were actually initiated because of the trauma. all of a sudden, when they feel that elevated emotion, it's like they've taken their body out of the past into the present moment. And now the body all of a sudden recalibrates. And if the quotient of their excitement for their new life, for their new future, the emotional quotient of their dream is greater than the betrayal or the shock or the trauma,